Okay, this is a reaction video, UK versus USA bacon. Why are they so different? Well, this is something I do know about. When I was in London last month, I went and had breakfast at the hotel I was staying at, the Park Plaza on the River Thames, and the bacon was very, very undercooked. I'm used to having my bacon a little bit crispier than that, but like I said, it was still good, but it wasn't like I liked it. But now everything else was fine. The sausage was fine. The eggs were fine. Now again, the baked beans on toast. I don't do that. I didn't like that, and I didn't do it. But everything. There was also a red drink. Orange juice, water, apple juice, and there was a red drink. I don't know what it was, but it was pretty good. I really did get the food in England when I was there was very good, but the bacon was undercooked very badly. So at least that's how I looked at it. Okay, but let me take a look. UK versus USA bacon. Why they're so different.
Hi, and welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. If you're new here, my name is
Yeah, please click like, share, and subscribe for her as well as for me. I would appreciate it.
Caitlin. I'm a dual UK and US citizen, and yes, people keep making fun of me for how I say dual, but unfortunately, that's just how I say it.
I don't understand why. It sounded fine to me. I didn't think you said it any poorly, any way differently than I would have said it.
Today we're uncovering differences between bacon in the UK and the USA. Now, this is a difference that is immediately obvious to every British person who's ever been to America and every American who's ever been to the UK. There is no chance that traditional British bacon, like the kind served with an English breakfast, would ever pass for American bacon, and the same the other way.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true.
They are two different things, and this video is not to decide which one is better, but to figure out how they're different and why. Now, the first difference is really just based on what you can see in the photos. British bacon is often in bigger pieces than American bacon, which is usually cut into strips. You can get streaky bacon in the UK, cut into strips similar to American bacon, but even this bacon is different in a few ways to American bacon, which we'll go over in a minute, and I already can tell that I'll be saying bacon far too many times in this video. Now, the biggest difference really is that British bacon is back bacon. It's cut from the loin of the pig like a pork tenderloin. American bacon, however, comes from the pork belly. So American bacon has a lot more fat than the leaner cut of British
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I can understand that. I did not know that. That's something I did not know.
bacon. Side note, Americans actually call our version of British bacon Canadian bacon, and we do use...
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Canadian bacon is... Because Canadian bacon is something that you have on an Egg McMuffin in the United States. Now I used to work at McDonald's, so I used to with the Canadian bacon you did the muffin, and then you would butter it. You put cheese on it, then you cook the egg. You took the egg on there, and with the Canadian bacon you put it literally on the grill for about 5 or 10 seconds. You turn it over 5 or 10 more seconds, and then you serve it.
Use it in a few dishes, like with Eggs Benedict. However, typically when Americans are referring to bacon, they're talking about this kind of bacon. So British bacon is going to have some chew to it. You can cut it up with a fork and knife usually, and sometimes if it's not cooked for a long time, it can be, for lack of a better word, I would describe it as like floppy. It's got a lot more actual meat on it though, rather than the mostly just like fat strips of American bacon. American bacon is almost always cooked until crispy, so much so that you can usually snap it in half.
Not always, but most times, yes. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's undercooked a little bit and makes it a little bit chewier. But most times she's right. It is cooked till crisp, and you can pick it up and then crack it in half quite easily.
Some people prefer extra crispy, which essentially means it will shatter into a million pieces the second that you bite into it. You'll see a lot of complaints about this from the Brits, saying things like meat shouldn't be crunchy, and the bacon in the US is grin, just vile. But the criticism also goes the other way, with Americans saying things like, Most Americans are disappointed by British-style bacon, and also English bacon isn't what we would consider bacon. And actually,
yeah, again, like I said, I tried it. I liked it. It was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't something that I had. I mean, I had it for the first time I had breakfast. I didn't have it subsequent times because it just wasn't what I consider to be bacon. Now, the sausage was fine. Like I said, the eggs were fine. Everything else was fine. I just didn't care for the English bacon. It just wasn't me. But like I said, I have nothing against English bacon or how you make it. I mean, it is what it is. It's whatever you like it. You should have it the way you want it.
They're not technically wrong. The USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, in all of their infinite bacon power, has declared that the word bacon in the USA only refers to the cured belly of a swine. If the bacon is made from other parts of a pig, it has to be labeled like that, such as pork shoulder bacon. But something to just be called bacon on the packaging, you're always going to be getting pork belly by default. You can find back bacon in the US, but technically it is not considered bacon. Now let's go back to why I think there's still a slight difference between the streaky bacon you get in the UK and American bacon. Technically, these do come from the same cut of the pig, but I have noticed, and this post backs me up on this, that there is still a difference in texture between streaky bacon in the UK and American bacon. This person found that in the US, there's a lot of extra fat and grease left over from the cooking process, which doesn't happen as much with UK streaky bacon. I am not a bacon expert, I'm just trying to learn alongside all of you and share what I found, but some possible reasons why they're still a little bit different.
Look, it's clear that the bacon in the United States has a lot more fat on it and is definitely less healthy than the one in the UK. I could understand that. But again, like I said, it was a culture. It was a culture. I mean, like I said, you go to the breakfast, you get your strips of bacon, and it's like it's undercooked. But he said, I'll try it, see if it's any good. It was good. It just wasn't great. It wasn't what I was used to.
Could have to do with the fact that the breed of pigs used in each country can make a pretty big difference, as well as our next topic, which is another major difference, is the flavor of the bacon. It doesn't just come from the different cuts of the meat, but in the US, bacon is by default always smoked, usually with hickory wood, though sometimes apple wood. But in the UK, this isn't necessarily the default, though you can buy smoked bacon, and so this is going to affect the flavor as well. Now, let's try and answer the why of the bacon cuts and how each country went their own separate ways, as well as a little bacon history for your day. In the UK, there actually used to be a class divide between using back bacon and streaky bacon. Before the Second World War, streaky bacon was often all that the working class could afford and was more popular. Back bacon was more expensive, harder to source, and thus preferred by the middle class as sort of a class system thing where, if you can afford the more expensive thing, then you want to be seen as having the more expensive thing. In the 60s and 70s, back bacon gained a sort of privilege over streaky bacon and became the default for most classes. This was most...
Well, I guess when I stayed at the hotel, I'm guessing that's why... It's interesting.
Due to the Danish pork production, which helped back bacon become more affordable and accessible to everybody. So streaky bacon at this point becomes relegated to being used for things like pigs in blankets or wrapping up joints for roasting, as opposed to the bacon that somebody would choose to have as their main source of bacon meat. Now, one of the most interesting theories I've read regarding American love for the belly bacon is that it may have something to do with culture. There are large numbers of German and Italian immigrants in the USA, and their own versions of bacon back home also come from the belly, meaning that overall, belly bacon would be preferred by more people and develop more of a cultural significance in the US.
And that would make sense, okay? And I would understand that. That would make more sense because, again, we have a lot of German immigrants in this country, and bacon is just what it is. I mean, if you served it, if you didn't serve belly bacon, if you say it the way the British do it, it probably wouldn't go over as well. It would probably be an acquired taste. But like I said, it was still good. It just wasn't what I considered to be bacon, so I didn't get it the next subsequent times. I went and got breakfast. But it was still good. It just wasn't great.
Than it would in the UK. This is further cemented by the fact that bacon was popularized in the US by a German, Oscar Mayer, who moved to America at age 14 and eventually received a patent in 1924 for America's first pre-sliced packaged bacon. Now let's talk about how we eat bacon. Because of the different cuts of bacon, it's eaten in both countries in different ways, sometimes. Now, it's mostly considered a breakfast item in both countries, an important part of the classic breakfast plate, which looks like this in the UK and looks like this in the US. Americans definitely have bacon as a side dish for breakfast. Bacon and eggs are very popular. You might have bacon and waffles or bacon and pancakes. Bacon is also an important part of a full English breakfast for many people, and it's served as a side. Then you've got the sandwich variety. In the UK, a bacon sandwich is definitely a thing, which is basically...
Now, that is something we don't do a whole lot in the United States, a bacon sandwich like that. That looks pretty good. That's something that looks like that I would probably eat, but I probably would put something on it, maybe mustard. That's why I wonder how English bacon would taste with mustard, with yellow mustard. That would be interesting. I don't know if you had the option to do that when I was there.
A piece of bacon in between bread on a roll or bun, typically with not much else. Because it's a chewier cut of meat and there's just more meat to it, it doesn't need much more within the sandwich to be classed as a full sandwich. In the US, if we just added our version of bacon to a sandwich, it would be a little bit disappointing.
Because we usually have bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches, BLTs. If you just cook a bacon, then you made just put 2 pieces of bread, it wouldn't be very good. It would just be like you'd probably just take the bread, put it to the side, and eat the bacon, and then maybe eat the bread separately.
Because it is so crunchy and so flat. So we do add bacon to things like breakfast sandwiches, but we're going to add more in addition. So it's usually like a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. Or, of course, we would add it to something like a BLT sandwich, a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. So both countries do have bacon within sandwiches, just in slightly different ways. The other difference with how bacon is consumed is that because American bacon is easily crumbled and cracked and broken apart, we use it as a topping a lot. So maybe you have macaroni and cheese with bacon on top.
Yeah, they have a thing called bacon bits, which are just crunched up bacon. Just literally, you add bacon to like macaroni and cheese and other things like that. Baked potatoes as well.
Or baked beans often have bacon bits in them. Bacon bits are also a popular topping on a baked potato in the US. British bacon doesn't crumble or break apart like that, which explains why it's not really used in the same way when we're talking about the traditional...
Yeah, like I said, in America, it's just a little slightly different, but again, like that bacon sandwich, I wish I would have taken 2 pieces of toast and then taken the bacon and put it on like that, maybe with a little bit... I don't know if they had yellow mustard there, but that probably would have been good. That probably would have been better if I tried that.
Cut of like British back bacon. But then, of course, America has to get weird and has so many strange ways of consuming bacon in various restaurants across the US, like bacon on a stick, bacon cocktails, bacon ice cream.
Now, bacon on a stick is not something I've ever seen before, nor have I ever seen bacon in a cocktail before, but I have seen bacon ice cream. We are a little bit strange in that respect. I gotta agree with her there.
And the infamous Wendy's Baconator. Side note.
Yeah, Baconator is just like a burger with a bunch of bacon on it. They also have bacon on donuts as well.
While researching this, one of the people also asked questions on Google when looking up the Wendy's Baconator was, is Wendy's Baconator healthy?
I don't think so.
I mean, hello?
No, that's not very healthy.
Just look at it. Who is looking that up? Someone send them help and like maybe a nutritionist. Now I tried to figure out which country eats more bacon, but in the absence of any statistics that I could find, I can assure you that both countries do love bacon, In 2018, a study was done in the UK that shows that when asked what food people would eat happily on a daily basis, if there were no consequences, bacon came in the top 3 along with pizza and pasta. Similar polls in the US show that bacon is the favorite food for 20% of the population out of all the food, and 16% say they can't live without it, which seems a little bit of an exaggeration, but Americans aren't known for their subtlety, so there you go. This brings me to the end of this video. What type of bacon do you prefer? Comment below and let me know.
Well, as in terms of what bacon I prefer the American kind, obviously, because that's what I've eaten more of. But the British side was good. I guess I didn't care for it as much, but putting it on a sandwich, that may be something I should try when next time I'm in England. But again, please click like, share, and subscribe for Girl Gone London. Please click like, share, and subscribe for me as well. I would appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.